Hello, my name is Jeff Rolka. I want to thank you for checking out my video. I recently sent out a questionnaire to my newsletter group, which is over at jeffrolka.com. And there's also a free teaching method over there, by the way, if you are so interested. It's a linear compendium, if you will, of fundamental vocal technique called airflow articulation or airflow engage. There's a AAA method: airflow, alignment, airflow, and articulation. Alignment, airflow, and articulation. So you could check that out. Just sign up for the newsletter group. Anyways, someone wrote in a question on said questionnaire saying, how do we keep resonance on the higher pitches on wide intervals? And this is a great question, and I haven't talked about it in quite some time. So I'm going to give it to you here in this quick tip format. It's quite a simple concept, but the implementation of it can be kind of tricky. And depending on how wide the interval is and where it is in your range, it can get kind of tricky. The concept, though, is easy. Vocalize to the high pitch. And that's all there is to it. If you want to know how to do that, let me show you. For starters, let's just take a modest interval in a modest part of my range. A fifth. Now, in general, that's not going to be particularly difficult to sing. Totally cool, right? But for the sake of argument, let's just say that it's proving problematic. Start at the top and go down to the lower of the two pitches. If you're really having difficulties, do them short. That can be very helpful in terms of marking the pitch. When you sing the interval in its descending fashion, make note of how you are narrowing your voice. Make note of how you are retaining your engagement. Make note of the energy and the position that you find yourself in when you are singing that top pitch. The physical memory of it will be very helpful when we start on the bottom. Notice how I've made a diminuendo. This is not only quite beneficial for our vocal technique, but it's also a lot of the ways that listeners want to hear our voices respond when we go from high notes to low notes, or more importantly, from low notes to high notes. They like to hear that crescendo. So now that we've practiced it a little bit, we try to keep it all the same, just do it in reverse. Still keeping it melismatic. I'm singing through the transition. It may be tempting to break the phrase. That will create problems in the song, particularly if the phrase in the song is melismatic. In other words, there's a connection from the vowel that's on the lower pitch and the vowel that's on the higher pitch. The practice is really the same no matter where this is and no matter how high the interval, or how wide the interval, I might say. It's just that when we start getting into registration events or areas that are above the secondo passaggio, or even worse, on the secondo passaggio, this is where it gets really, really tricky. For a lot of tenor, still too, baritones as well, a lot of those types of songs that are written for those voices seem to just gravitate to the secondo passaggio. So you're always finding yourself jumping up to these Fs and things like that. Now, it's not always a perfect fifth. It might be a minor seventh. And the odder the interval, that can be challenging and even increase the challenges quite a lot too. It's not that it's arbitrarily more difficult, it's just that it's not as familiar. We're not necessarily tasked with singing minor sevenths all that frequently, but the practice is the same. also beneficial as part of this practice to try to internalize the sound of that top pitch. So when I'm doing this for you here, I'm hearing that F in my head before I have to sing it. So that I go as directly to that pitch as I possibly can. And quite frankly, I've given myself away a little bit here because you see me waving my arms around a little bit. And the final piece of advice about this is to try to think about it more as an expansion of energy rather than a high or a low thing. I'm just as guilty as the next person. The more that we can think about these things as being an expansion of energy or a lifting here, where we are increasing the subglottic air pressure, we are increasing the energy, the easier it will be to not reach for those pitches and get that gripped vocal fold, lifting larynx kind of sound. So as always, I hope this helps. If you've got questions or comments, please leave them in the comments or find me on Twitter. It is a pleasure to serve you. Thank you so very much for checking out my video. My name is Jeff. Take really good care of your voices. Enjoy singing, and hopefully we'll see you again. Bye.